give us a quick invocation with the pledge, and we'll get started. God, thank you for our time together this morning. Thank you for those who selflessly serve us, serve our community, run to the danger, keep us safe. We thank you so much for their sacrifice, the risks that they take, and how much better they make our lives every day. So we thank you for them. We ask your blessings and protection on them. We thank you for those club members who are here, those who aren't. Lord, we ask that you be specifically with the Russell family, Rhonda and Lee. Just bless them and keep Lee comfortable, be with the family and give them peace and comfort in this time. We're so appreciative of all that they've done for us and our community, and we just ask that you be with them. Bless our time here this morning and be with us as we go into the Memorial Day weekend and remember those who have served and died protecting our freedom in this country. We thank you for those who continue to serve in that capacity. Be with those in leadership positions across our community, our city, our state, and our nation. Guide and direct those and guide and direct us in everything that we do. In Jesus' name, amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. All right. Ever since the great Gail Lewis administration, the agenda for the president has had in big red letters, guests, because we often forget to ask if we have any guests. But I was reminded this morning from Mr. Brad McCutcheon that we do. So, Brad.
Morning, everybody. Morning. This is Brad Altman. Brad and I coach first grade soccer and baseball together. That doesn't pan out professionally. He's got a job in finance, for lawyers. He and his wife Rivka live over near us in the North Lake neighborhood by the high school. Daughter Grace in preschool and son Devin, my son's class right now last day of school at North Lake.
Excellent. Thank you, Brad. Welcome, Brad. Any other guests, first timers this morning? No hands. All right. We've got some business things to tend to quickly this morning before we get to our program. So we're going to try to move through that. I'm going to make a few quick announcements and then I'll invite Nathan Trafone up to talk about our recent auction. First, I'll recognize Mr. Threadgill with an announcement about early voting.
Early voting continues Saturday, Sunday, today, not Monday, they're closed. It will be Tuesday and then the election will follow the same thing. Obviously, we have a subject on the ballot, so take time to vote early and vote often.
Thank you, John, our chief voting officer. All right. Other announcements. We have the board induction dinner scheduled for Wednesday, June 9th. Please get that on your calendars. Make plans to attend. That is a member and spouse event, so please bring your significant others with you if you can. Do we have a kickoff time for that, Michael, Robert? 6:30.
Whether you want to
That's what I'm talking about.
It's going to start at 6:30. We'll be here at the KC. 6:30, June 9th,
6:30.
here at the KC. Thank you, Michael. We also have a park cleanup coming up, part of our arrangement with the City Parks Department that helps us get the use of Flagpole Hill every year for Oktoberfest. Is that we're going to do some cleanup out there. That's going to be on Saturday morning, June 12th, 7 a.m. 0700 if you're so inclined. Those are always fun. I've done a couple of those. Most recently, we did the Lake Highlands North Rec Center. So we kind of alternate those two parks. This will be Flagpole Hill in preparation for Oktoberfest later this year, which is coming back. All right. With an update about our way, but before I do that, how many participated, watched, viewed, bid on any items in the auction? Just show of hands. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? All right. Well, surprisingly, not surprisingly, it was a great success. Nathan's going to come tell us about it.
Good morning, Lake Highlands.
Good morning.
I want to start by saying, to kind of what Chris just showed, thank you guys so much for your support. It really was a community effort, whether you participated on the committee, whether you helped us get an item, whether you bid on the item, or whether you were a sponsor. So kudos to the entire club for the effort. I also want to give a big shout out to Mr. Mark Holmes, our MC aficionado of the night. Give him a round of applause. And I also want to give another special thank you to Rick Mosley. If you guys saw the newsletter, you saw the command center. He had a really awesome setup that we were all working in. And before I forget to, if you won something, but you didn't pick it up Sunday at OHB, I have the packets back at my table, so come see me after. But before I share the number, I want to invite my committee members who were able to make it this morning to come up. So Hank, Joe, Wes, Javier, just come up real quick here while we announce the number. So I promised Doug I'd give you the conservative number. But this was a record-breaking year on the par with Oktoberfest. So as of now, we will net over $80,000. It was a super successful year. Again, I want to thank my committee. Without their help, we couldn't have done this, but also the club. Thank you guys for showing up and supporting. We didn't have Oktoberfest, so the money that we raised this year is going to help us meet our goals for next year. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, well, a well-deserved ovation for those guys. We can't thank them enough. It's beyond knocking it out of the park. You know, their stretch goal for the auction, just to be transparent, they were budgeted to raise $0. All right, we had not low expectations. We had no expectations of this committee. Honestly, though, just because of the uncertainty, we didn't know whether we were going to have an auction. We didn't know what we were going to be able to pull off or accomplish. And so they set for themselves a goal of 50,000. And as things kind of started going, they're like, yeah, let's stretch it. Let's go for 75. And they exceeded even their stretch goal. So really, really impressive. Can't thank them enough. And they put the club in a great position going into the next club year. So thank you to Nathan. Thank you to his committee. And with that, speaking of the next club year, I'm going to invite past President Gail Lewis to come up to read the slate of officer and director nominees and call our vote.
Wow, it's fitting. I was just thinking, looking at March 12th, 2020, my last time at the podium, Brian gave our program. We were talking about, hey, the NBA quit playing the night before. We may have to skip a couple weeks. Here we are. So you never know. And I get to follow, Nathan's great job, not only raising 80,000, but getting Mark Holmes to get on a microphone. I mean, what a job. It's amazing. All right, Chris told me I had to read this as written, so I'm sorry, I'm already off. But per our bylaws, President-elect Robert Wallen convened a nominating committee, including Chris Poteet, myself, Patrick Brown, and Chris Brown. Tonight is the final of 3 readings today of our candidates for 2021-2022. We always do 3 readings. They were read at the meeting on Thursday, May 20th. It appeared in our newsletter, and this will take care of that final check mark. At the conclusion of the reading of the slate, I'll ask if there are any nominations from the floor. We'll consider those and we'll move to a final vote. So as I announce your name, if you'd stand and remain standing until the complete slate has been announced. President Robert Wallen, President-elect Carlin Volkmer, past President Chris Brown, the happiest man in the room, Treasurer Doug Raby, Secretary Raymond Fisher, Vice Presidents, Fundraising, Jason Edgerton. Programs, Bill Boyd. Youth, Jimmy Conway. Directors of School Relations, Charlie Bogan. Citizenship and Americanism, Wes Johnson. Membership, Michael Bailey. Community Service, Nathan Trafone. Looking forward to those open bar community service projects right there, I'm telling you. Communications, website, social media, Rick Mosley. Scholarships, Brent Basin. Member involvement, John Torres. Oktoberfest, Patrick Brown. And the spring fundraiser, Joe Parisi. This is your slate. Thank you for your willingness to serve. I'm going to let you sit down while we finish out the rest of this. Before we move to a vote, are there any nominations from the floor? Thank you. Seeing none, we'll move forward to the vote. Do I have a motion from the membership for a vote on the election of the slate of officers? Mr. Holmes, I have a second in the back from Tracy. Thank you. All those in favor of the election of the slate of officers and directors as proposed and read today, please say aye.
Aye.
Not even going to ask. That's it. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you, incoming officers and directors. You are official, locked in, loaded, ready to go. No getting out now. I mean, unless you do certain things. All right, with that, we will move on to our regularly scheduled programming right on time, and I will turn the mic over to Mr. Bill Boyd.
Good morning, Lake Highlands, and thank you for that warm greeting. So this year, it has been my pleasure to be the community service guy, and one of the jobs with that is recognizing police and fire. And it's been a really fun job. It's been a bit interesting with COVID and meeting in person, not meeting in person. But I've really enjoyed getting to know the folks at DPD and at the fire department. And it's my pleasure to do this one last time before I turn the reins over to Nathan. So with that, we are going to start, we did a coin flip, and the coin flip was determined by the construction on 635, getting them called out quickly. So we're going to go with fire first. So I'd like to introduce Major Breidenbach. Did I get that right, sir? All right, perfect. Who is going to introduce Lieutenant Kyle Grady.
Thank you, Bill. And just thank you. We appreciate you giving us the opportunity to recognize somebody from the department. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Kyle Grady. I wish I could give you a big, long, funny stuff about Kyle, but for the last couple of years, I really haven't seen him. He's been buried in books. He just was promoted to lieutenant, which that's tough deal. So I can just tell you that he's an integral part of the team. He has been, and really over the past couple of years, some of the things that he's done while studying for lieutenant. By the way, scored in the top 20, which again, great feat, great feat. But let me just introduce him. He's lieutenant, brand new lieutenant, Kyle Grady.
All right, so I'm going to do this again kind of as a Q&A style, so you don't have to hear me talk quite as much. We are on the Zoom machine, so if you could, I'll let you be in front of the mic. So, all right. So Kyle, first off, tell us a little bit about you. Where from, family?
I'm originally from Crandall, Texas. Born in Dallas, moved to Crandall. Graduated from Crandall. Went to school at Southwest Texas State University. It's now called Texas State, but I don't call it that. Southwest Texas State University. Graduated from there. Did a few things here and there. I was a teacher and a coach for 8 years. And then one of my best friends, he was on the department, and he he was the one who persuaded me to get on the department. So I finally, after 8+ years, took his advice, and, I kick myself in the rear end every now and then because I should have taken his advice straight out of college. But hey, it is what it is. You live and learn. I've got a wife. She's unable to make it. She's a teacher as well. We taught together and got 2 kids, Kendall, Cannon. Kendall's 12, Cannon's 8, and their birthdays are coming up this weekend and the next weekend. And we now reside in Forney, Texas, which is a hop, skip, and a jump away from Crandall.
And you're a teacher and a coach in Crandall.
Yes, sir.
So I'm a small town guy too, and that was always kind of the goal of certain folks, to get back and be the coach there. But now you're with us, so.
I was very fortunate in that, to be able to coach and teach in the hometown, which is it's a blessing in itself because you know the town, but at the same side, it's not, because I coached and taught a lot of the kids whose parents I knew. So take that how you want. But it was a great experience. It was great, being able to see kids grow, develop, and mature.
So you were telling me that your current role is as a swing lieutenant. And I know as far
Yes,
as
sir.
my time here, this is the first time we've had someone in that job. So if you could tell us a little bit about what your role is and what you do on a daily, weekly
A
basis.
swing lieutenant, basically, it's Battalion 4. We have 9 different battalions in the city of Dallas. Battalion 4, we have several stations. We have about 6 or so stations. And how a swing lieutenant works, for example, today, Station 39's captain has to go ride the chief's car. So if there's an opening as far as an officer, whether it's a captain or lieutenant in that battalion, I go to that station. Now, say the station's full, say the battalion's full, I could go potentially anywhere in the city. So I'm not just limited to Northeast Dallas, this area per se. I could go way north, I could go way south, I could go way west. So it just depends on whether the opening, is, and I'm responsible for riding the seat. You're kind of, as an officer in general, not just a swing lieutenant, but an officer in general, you're responsible for the scene, whether it's a motor vehicle accident, whether it's a EMS run. We don't get these too often, but whether it's a structure fire, you're responsible for your crew, as well as the other crews around you as well. So that's a little bit about the swing lieutenant position.
So what has been your favorite job within the department?
To be honest, I know those guys back there might like it, but it was actually when I was a paramedic driver. And I say that because I was fortunate enough to come to 39, that's where I'm at today, and work with, I know you probably hear it a million times, but I can honestly say the best crew in the world. Those guys, how could I say this? Some crews, you look in the back of the engine, or, you look in the front of the engine and you're like, I'm not so sure. But with those guys, if I was in the back or I was in the front, I could look in the front, I could look in the back and be like, bring it on. I know those guys know their job, and they would do anything and everything to help not only the citizens, of Dallas, but the crew as well. I mean, I was really fortunate, a little over 2 years, even though I was studying a lot, to work with those gentlemen back there and learn from them. And once I became a swing lieutenant, it's made me really appreciative of, being able to work with guys that have all that experience and be able to pass on that experience and knowledge to myself. So that's it.
So my next question is one that has evolved as we've done this over the year. And fortunately, I'm hoping Nathan gets to retire it and not even worry about it going forward. But how has COVID changed your world?
It has made us more aware. I say that, before we'd go on medical runs and, you'd put on your gloves, because you don't know what you're dealing with. And, that was it. When COVID hit, we literally looked like we were hazmat technicians walking into someone's home. We had the face shield, the gown, the gloves, the mask. So in a nutshell, it made us become more aware. And looking back on that, I think it made myself a better paramedic, because now I was taking things into retrospect, so to speak, like, what could this person, possibly have? Or, what, because I don't want to bring that back home, to my family. So it made us more cautious in as far as a EMS sense. Now that it's done, it's over with, the restrictions have lightened up again, but some of the homes you walk into, unfortunately, you walk in a home, it's like, oh, I wish I would have wore that face mask, years ago. So now, like 9 times out of 10, when I walk into a home, I have that face mask on because I don't have to, smell some of the smells you don't want to smell, if you catch my drift.
All right, so what is one thing you wish that the public knew about your role within the fire department?
Not necessarily my role in general, but I would say the occupation. Like I said, I wish I would have got on 15 years ago. This job is the most, and I can say it because I taught and I got to see a lot of rewards with kids playing ball on Friday nights, baseball, football, this, that, and the other, see them develop. But, this is the most, and I know everybody probably says it, but this is the most rewarding job. I mean, who gets to sleep all day? I'm kidding. Who gets to eat all day? Those guys. No, it's not really what you're seeing. I mean, we don't sleep all day. We don't eat. We do work out, but it's not all day. When I say it's rewarding, because you get that call, whether it's a motor vehicle accident or a medical emergency, we're rewarded because people that we don't know, we've never met, are entrusting us as professionals, with their life, and that says a lot because I don't know that person, and they have entrusted us. And just to see that thankfulness that the patients give you, that the family give you, just that little bit, that little thank you, that goes a long way. So when I say it is the most rewarding, I mean, it is, it is very, very rewarding in that sense.
And last question that I like to ask is, we're a bunch of guys who are willing to get up at 7 o'clock on Fridays and be here. We're interested, we're involved in the community, but we're always looking for new ways that we can help pour in to our civil servants. What are some tangible things that we as a club or individuals can do to support Dallas Fire?
Stuff like this. I mean, this is awesome, because I hate to say it again, but that little word, thank you to us. Sometimes we do receive it, on call, sometimes we don't, but when we receive it, it's like, oh, wow. And when we get stuff like this from the community, it's so, I am personally so appreciative even to be nominated, and given this award, but then to see everybody show up and give, I guess, to us, that speaks volume for the public, and we're here to serve, that's our job, serving the community. But stuff little like this, just giving just a little breakfast, it's awesome. I mean, I can't thank y'all enough, for this. Drop by the station every now and then. We like that. We don't eat as much as the cops do, but no. It's just a simple come by, say hello, introduce yourself. We like that because, sometimes seeing different faces and seeing people in the community we serve, that can, a little thing like that can, and it does brighten up our day a lot. So thank y'all again for this. This is awesome.
All right, sir. Well, Kyle Grady, we
Yes,
really
sir.
appreciate you. Let me sneak in right here. So, little token of our appreciation. There's something in the box too, so don't just chunk the box.
Okay.
So thanks a lot, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So one of the things I've missed with the virtual meeting is the back and forth. So I did let both of our guys know that any good-natured ribbing is appropriate. So Lieutenant Grady set the bar well. So hopefully Sergeant Bynum has got some good stuff too. But next up is the Dallas Police Department that are going to be recognizing Sergeant John Bynum, and introducing him will be Lieutenant Nichols.
Good morning. Well, let me start out by saying thank you for doing this. We appreciate it. It's officers always love to be recognized, even though when Kevin came to me and he asked me to nominate somebody for this, I immediately thought of Sergeant Bynum. But and when we told him, I got a reaction I wasn't expecting. He goes, "I got to be there at what time?" He does not like to, he gets in at 8:30 generally, 8-ish. So he doesn't like to get in here earlier than that. So you guys feel honored that he's here on time. But I got to address our colleagues back here about the sleeping thing. I remember years ago, I was a young sergeant. We had Hurricane Katrina, several disasters that I've worked with these guys, the fire side. And we're unpacking in the command post down the convention center, getting our radios set up. I look over DFR setting up cots. Like, what the heck? We didn't get cots. So that sleeping thing is not a rumor. But anyway, real quick, let me talk about the sergeant rank real quick. Sergeant Bynum is a sergeant. Obviously, he works for me at Northeast, and sergeant rank is, to me, it's the most important rank on our department. They're the link between upper management and the officer. They're out there on the streets with the officer every day, humping calls, supervising them, making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And in today's climate, you can know how important that is. Officers need supervision, whether they want it or not, especially your younger officers. And the good thing, a good sergeant knows what officers need more supervision than others. Some need a lot, some don't need any at all. They can handle it. And Sergeant Bynum has a good sense of that. He knows his officers, and that's what makes him a good sergeant. I mean, I have a lot of good sergeants that have, they're good on doing their paperwork, checking on their officers, but I don't have a lot that communicate and know their officers, and that's important to meet with them, to know their families, to know what's going on in their lives, to say, hey, I need to keep an eye on this guy. He's having an issue at home. Those are important, and if you don't know that, then you're not going to know to watch them, to be there for them. So, and he really knows that. So he does a good job. And that's what makes him a good sergeant, I think. He also has credibility with the officers. And when I say that, I mean, they know that he's not going to, he's not going to lie to them. He's not going to blow smoke on them in places they don't want. And they understand that, but they also know that he's going to hold them accountable when they mess up. He's not afraid to discipline officers. He has the discretion to know when to do it, and that's important, but he's not afraid to do it. A lot of supervisors, especially sergeants, it's hard to make that transition from officer to supervisor. They want to be friends with everybody. They want to be, liked, which is important, but that's not your job to be liked. Your job is to supervise. And if you got to take action, they're not going to like it. Obviously, nobody likes to be told they're doing something wrong. So, but he does it, and I appreciate that. And he's there as when I take off, I have to designate somebody that's acting watch commander, and he's generally that person. And so he takes care of things for me, and I don't have to worry about when I get back that there's stuff that needed to be done that wasn't. So I appreciate that. But the main thing, like I said, is his relationships with officers. That helps my job. That helps the chief. That helps us when we have to bring down policies that they're not going to like. John has a way of communicating them. It's not that he doesn't gripe about it to me, but he has what I call a healthy cynicism that he's developed over 23 years. So he's been a sergeant since 2006. So he knows what he's doing. He's been there long enough. So like I said, when Kevin asked me to nominate somebody, I didn't hesitate. I immediately thought of John. So without further ado, I can introduce you to Sergeant John Bynum.
Similarly, we're going to do a little Q&A style thing. So if you'd introduce your wife and tell us a little bit about where you're from.
This is my wife, Dawn. We met here in Dallas. She went to Nimitz Irving. So I came here by myself, but I grew up, was born in Oregon, lived there till I was about 8 years old. Legislative things happened in that state where it made it very difficult to keep jobs. So we moved to Kansas from the time I was 8 till through college. My parents still live in Kansas. I went to Kansas State University. Grew up way out in the sticks in Kansas, closer to Amarillo than to Wichita or Denver, but in Kansas. So that's how far out in the sticks. Went to Kansas State University, started applying with police departments. I started in chemical engineering until I saw the senior projects that were being completed.
Do you mind flipping over a little bit?
Yeah, I saw the senior projects that were being completed by the chemical engineers. I said, I definitely don't want to do that for a living. So that's when I changed to criminology, graduated and started applying to various departments. And Dallas was actually the first one where I had family in somewhat close proximity, and they started the academy as soon as. So that's how I wound up with Dallas.
Very cool. And how long have you been with the department?
Hired on in 98.
Okay.
July of 98.
23 years or coming up.
Yeah.
Very cool. And you moved up to the Northeast just a few years ago, right?
Yeah, there was a citywide bid, and there was a lot of senior people who had been here for a long time, had come up on retirement, and left openings for me to take up.
What has been your favorite role in the department?
Being a sergeant, a field sergeant, has been my favorite. It's not the same thing every day, and I get to go to the more interesting incidents and calls and not have to go to the more mundane, because that doesn't require a supervisor.
Yeah, very cool. So again, yeah, I'm glad that this question is going away, but how has COVID changed your world as an officer? You had a very interesting answer with that question when we talked.
Well, like you said, it's made us more cautious about certain things. And we've always had to go to those houses that we probably should just put hazmat suits on just to go inside the suit, these houses before or after COVID. The hard part about it's been getting people back into the swing of making public contacts that were discretionary and were actually kind of discouraged for a while. It's trying to get officers and citizens even to make those contacts that we need to start making again to be able to do our jobs properly.
You'd mentioned the mask part.
Oh.
That's such a culture change.
Yeah, because before there was a rule until the day they told us to start wearing masks at work. If you were a patrol officer, if you were anybody other than a narcotics officer on a warrant and you covered your face for the first 22 years that I worked here, that was highly suspicious, and there were rules against it because you need to be identify the police officer that's taking enforcement action or whatever. So to me, that was a big culture switch, because it was something that, like, even when you rode a bicycle, they had to get a special rule for a bicycle officer to be able to wear a balaclava when it was cold outside, because they didn't want officers hiding their faces. So that was a big switch when that happened.
So 23 years in Dallas, you've seen a few changes within the city and within the department. What's something that you wish that the public knew that we generally don't?
I've been thinking about that question for a while. My answer probably changes every 5 minutes. Depends on what I'm doing at that time. What I wish the public knew that they don't is mostly the amount of information that goes into critical incident thinking in a very short amount of time. We don't get to use slow motion or anything like that. And people think that we're considering certain things, and it's ascribing motivations to a police officer who's got 2 seconds to do whatever, whether it's just put somebody in handcuffs or various other things. And the motivations really are mostly, what do I have to do here? What's the minimum I can get away with doing here? And what's the right thing in between those two marks to do my job? And that's, and go home at night and safely and all that. So those are really the motivations that go through somebody's head when they're dealing with something, on a short time period. It's not you watch a pundit on the news reviewing a 5-second video and they say, well, I think he this and I think he that. And really it's far simpler, but yet more complex. We're not going through some of the revolutions that some people would just ascribe to us, but we're going through quite a few things like legal requirements, safety requirements. What's the appropriate thing for this person that we need to do to service provide them?
Thank you, sir. And then last question, the same thing that I asked Lieutenant Grady is, what can we do as a bunch of guys here in Lake Highlands to help make the job at Northeast a little easier, a little better?
Well, see, you're already doing quite a bit. Like you said, doing these sorts of things, it's nice for us to be able to say, hey, this community's recognizing an officer or a fireman, even though that's, kind of secondary, but that sort of thing is helpful to us. People get food to us and they'll walk up to us at a restaurant and it's kind of almost hurts my feelings when they do this, but we really appreciate you. Like, the fact that you had to do it like that, like you're about to tell a dirty joke, that's not, kind of, but don't, if you feel a certain way about, first responders, I would ask people not to be so reticent to say it to other people, not us. Because we get the satisfaction of when we do something good and something right, which is what I call God's work for that day, that's its own satisfaction. What I would ask is, as everybody here is of the age to be a parent, I don't know if you have kids, but teach your kids that. That's what I tell everybody. There's a lot of grownups who are very, very conscious of and try to do the right thing. But we sometimes forget to tell our children. I got 2 teenage boys, so we just sometimes forget to speak it out loud to them. And that's what I would ask us. And that's not even an organizational thing. That's just anybody.
Perfect. Sergeant John Bynum.
Thanks.
All right, and we've got a special recognition, so I'm going to ask Lieutenant Nichols to come back up. And also, we have with us this morning the new Northeast Division Chief. There's been a fair amount of turnover, sir. Come on back. So if you'd like to stand up, sir, it's Chief, is it Williams? Ishmael, sorry, sir. So is our new division chief, and sir, we're going to get you on the hot seat here in a few weeks. I know the director of programs next year, and we're looking to get some good content. So I'll be in touch, sir. All right. So we have a special recognition. So there's a gentleman that we have seen many times over the years, Officer Mitch Gatson. We've seen him in this room many times. We've seen him at Oktoberfest. I understand that that he was our officer of the quarter some years back. We're still trying to find the exact records on that. Brown says they're not in the president's secret box. I'm not sure about that. But Lieutenant Nichols, if you could introduce Mitch.
Sure, I'll try. By the way, Chief Ishmael is our bureau commander. He's over Northeast and Southeast. So Major Williams is our division. He's out of town, so that's why he's not here, but that just kind of cleared that up.
Thanks, sir.
They asked me this morning to introduce Mitch, and I knew that would be a hard task to do him justice. Mitch is one of those, he retired recently after 34 years. So, and his accomplishments will be felt for a long time here. He was what we call a neighborhood police officer, or NPO. Now, when I was a rookie, they called him ICP, a lot of different things. And back then, as a rookie officer, if you didn't work the streets, the ICP, that we called it, that meant I can't police. And then they changed it to NPO, which meant not a police officer. But as I became a supervisor, and as in the current climate we're in the world, we obviously see the value of the community police officers, right? I mean, Mitch was, what's that song? I was country before country was cool. He was a community police officer before community police officers were cool. he saw the value and he has created a bank of community engagement and community goodwill that will be drawn from for years to come. And very few officers leave the department and you feel that void, that there's a void there. Most of us leave and they just bring another lieutenant in and I'm gone, and my desk is empty and the next guy comes in and takes over. It's going to be hard to fill Mitch's shoes, and the community even knows it. Like, we had an event yesterday, I believe you were there, and everybody was asking about Mitch, and because he was that kind of person where he had created that community involvement and that engagement that we desperately need nowadays. So we appreciate that, and he'll always be missed. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mitch Gaston.
Okay, thanks.
So Mitch, I did not come up with a long list of questions for you.
Thank you very much.
I knew how excited you were being retired to be back with us at 0700 on a Friday morning.
Right.
But I just want to give you the opportunity. Is there anything, now that you don't have to answer to anyone except your wife there? Is anything on your heart about Lake Highlands that you would want us to know about? That you could be as free as you want to now.
Well, all the good stuff, the bad stuff, I just kind of push it to the side. But Lake Highlands, working in Northeast Dallas, and Lake Highlands has been great for me, great for the unit. And me leaving, it was really emotional because I got attached to the people. I mean, the job, I didn't expect any awards, any recognition. It's just the way I was raised. You work, you earn your paycheck and you do what you're supposed to do, and then you go home. But Lake Highlands has been wonderful. Exchange Club has been wonderful. And I think the thing that I miss about when I had to retire was the people, like Kevin, Bree, Lieutenant Sarge, all these people. I really miss my coworkers, y'all guys. I've been thinking about it, when I went out to my farm last week. It's a different feeling. I'm looking forward to it, but Lake Highlands is I think to me, probably the greatest neighborhood in North Dallas, or Dallas period, because there's such a variety of things here, a variety of people. So many community contacts, churches, schools, people such as yourself. It's just a lot. And I don't know. I'm so speechless about all of it, still trying to take it all in. Just one caveat we need to make sure of when they used to call us I Can't Police. I'm from the country, so I called it Independent Cantaloupe Producers. So that's how I viewed it, so nobody can take that title from me. But that one caveat, and I'm from a little small town myself, and if you're from a small town, you'll understand. My graduating class was 40 people. Actually, 38, 2 didn't make the cut. So I'm from a real small town, small community. And community, I guess, is kind of one of the things I really liked about the job. Really loved about that job.
Well, sir, thank you for 34 great years, and we're going to miss you too.
All right, thank y'all.
And with that exactly on time, sir, I turn the podium back over to Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you to our police officer of the quarter, Lieutenant Grady, Sergeant Bynum, police of the quarter, retired Officer Mitch Gatson. Thank you very much. Thank you all for your service. Thank you for your continued efforts on behalf of the city and our community. We really appreciate it. We're happy to do this every quarter. We look forward to it. And we'll look forward to doing it again in the next few months. All right, next meeting, Friday, June 4th. We're going to have, I forget the name, but it's a cryptocurrency meeting. I'm actually going to be absent, even though I really want to be here for that. I may be tuning in from the beach via the Zoom. But it sounds like it's going to be a great meeting. I don't understand cryptocurrency. I'm watching a show on Netflix or Prime or something like that, and it's kind of based about this girl that developed this cryptocurrency, and they're trying to take money in from all these different sources. And I'm like, I don't get it. I still don't get it. People are making and losing tons of money doing it, but we're going to learn about what it is. It's the future of currency, apparently. So next Friday, 7 a.m., we will hear about that. Don't forget the board induction dinner on Wednesday, June 9th here at the KC at 6:30, definitive. And don't forget to go vote. You can vote today, tomorrow, or Tuesday. Oh, Sunday or Tuesday, early voting, and then election day is next Saturday. So please get out and vote. Mr. Raby's waving at me in the back. Yes, call them out. I didn't even see Pote sneak in here. Okay.
No shame.
You may not be aware of this, but our club has a candidate in the runoff for place 7 in RISD. As a resident in Lake Highlands, you only get to vote in one thing in this runoff, and it's that race. I think, what you should do should be clear to you at this point. I've been reminded that we'd like to get some pictures of our first responders, our honorees, and those that were presenting them this morning. So if you don't mind, after everybody is, shaking your hand and worn you out this morning, come on up to the front and we'll grab some quick pictures. And unless I've forgotten anything, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.